Chapter 8. The days flew by. Harry and Draco spent all of their time cooped up at Grimmauld Place. There was more and more news of disappearances and even deaths now, and the adults were concerned for their safety. It seemed that Voldemort had given up on hiding now that he had been seen in public, and instead decided to wreak havoc. Florian Fortescue, who used to give Harry free Sundays back in third year, had obviously been dragged off. The wandmaker Ollivander was gone as well. Harry's scar hurt more often now, but Sirius told him that was to be expected. And still, he felt a strange sort of peace, spending his summer with Sirius, Remus, and Draco. The two boys didn't see much of the other Order members, despite the fact that a lot of them visited headquarters. Only Tonks and her mother really spent time with them. The others showed up for meetings or to give reports or whatever they were doing, locked away in the kitchen, and then disappeared again. Harry didn't really mind. He enjoyed his newfound friendship with Draco, unexpected as it was. Talking to him never got boring, and he was pleasantly surprised to find that underneath all the haughty arrogance, Draco was a very sensitive and intelligent boy, who also possessed a wicked sense of humor. One day, a grinning Sirius told them that he had a surprise for them. Curious, the boys followed him up to the attic, which had finally been cleaned out with the help of some Order members. Now it was empty, aside from a metal hoop at each end. Sirius let them know that it had been magically expanded and turned into a sort of makeshift Quidditch pitch. Needless to say, Harry and Draco spent a lot of time in the attic from then on, racing each other on their brooms and playing one-on-one Quidditch, sometimes joined by Sirius and Tonks. Harry had so much fun with Draco that he hardly noticed when his birthday rolled around. Suddenly it was July 30th, the day Hermione, Ron, and Ginny would arrive. With a start, he realized that he had completely forgotten to tell his friends about Draco, and now it was too late, because as luck would have it, Ron and the others ran into the blonde right after their arrival. Harry was in his room, fresh from the shower and putting his firebolt away after a round of Quidditch when he suddenly heard his best friend yelling downstairs. And since Ron was obviously in the main hall, of course his shouts woke up Mrs. Black's portrait, who added shouts of her own. Harry ran downstairs into the middle of chaos. Ron was shouting insults at Draco, with Hermione and Ginny backing him up. Draco, of course, was retaliating in kind, because no matter how nice he actually was, some things would obviously never change. Remus stood next to them, trying in vain to defuse the situation with words, while Sirius was busy getting the portrait to shut up. "Stop it!" Harry yelled, wedging himself between Ron and Draco, who looked about ready to exchange blows. His move had the desired effect, and both of them shut up. Sirius finally managed to close the curtains over the portrait. "If you want to yell at each other, don't do it in the hallway, damn it!" he hissed, before striding back towards the kitchen. Harry saw Mr. and Mrs. Weasley standing there with Andromeda, all three of them looking apprehensive. For a moment, everyone seemed frozen in tense silence. Finally, Draco snapped, "I'll be in my room," and stormed upstairs. Harry raked a hand through his hair and caught Remus's eye. The werewolf gave him a pointed look, which wasn't hard to interpret. "Fix this." Harry nodded shakily and turned to his friends. "Come on, I guess I've got some explaining to do." He led them to his room. No, his and Ron's room now, he reminded himself, and sat down on the bed. "What the hell is Malfoy doing here?" Ron demanded angrily. "He's staying for the summer," Harry started to explain, only to be interrupted. "You mean he's been here for weeks? Why didn't you tell us? And who was stupid enough to let a junior Death Eater into the headquarters of the Order?" Harry flinched at the accusation, and was glad that Hermione at least was her usual calm and collected self.
"Well, the answer to that is quite obvious, isn't it? Dumbledore. He's a secret keeper. Malfoy wouldn't be here if Dumbledore hadn't told him where to find headquarters," she reasoned. "He's mental! First Snape and now Malfoy! We're being overrun by Death Eaters!" Ron continued to rant. "No, we're not. Draco is actually here because he didn't want to join the Death Eaters," Harry explained, but the redhead wouldn't be swayed. "You don't actually believe that bullshit. This is Malfoy. He's spying on us. He works for you-know-who. He'll bring Death Eaters here, or he'll murder us in our sleep." Harry rolled his eyes at his friend's paranoia. "Since when are you calling him Draco instead of Malfoy?"
Ginny spoke up for the first time. All three of them turned their questioning gazes on the dark-haired boy, who shrugged in response. He actually wasn't sure, probably since Draco started calling him Harry. "What, are you friends now?" Ron wanted to know, glaring at Harry as if daring him to say yes. Harry's anger spiked. "Yes, we are, But he didn't get any further, because the redhead was already yelling again, asking Harry if he had forgotten what Draco had done to them in the past, calling him mental and stupid and a bunch of other nice things. This time, however, Harry interrupted his rant, his own voice rising. Draco's father was going to force him to become a Death Eater at 16. But Draco didn't want to serve Voldemort. He asked Andromeda for help, and that's why he's here. His father disowned him for choosing our side, Ron. Oh, that's okay then. Let's just forget all the nasty stuff he did to us for 5 years because he decided not to work for you-know-who. Let's forget all the insults he threw at us and all his evil schemes, like how he tried to get Hagrid fired in 3rd year. Ron sneered, and Harry rubbed his temples. It was going to be a very long evening. Draco buried his head in his pillow, trying to drone out the yelling from 2 doors down. Weasley's voice was obnoxiously loud, and it sounded like Harry was getting pissed as well. Groaning, he rolled onto his side, pulling the covers over his head. He had no idea how long he had lain there when he was startled by a knock at his door. He must have dozed off, judging by the plate of food on his bedside table. Kreacher had probably put it there, although the old house elf had stopped being nice to him once he'd learned that Draco had been disinherited. The yelling had died down now, and it was surprisingly quiet, he noticed. The knock sounded again. It was probably Lupin coming to check on him, since he had obviously missed dinner, and offer advice. After living in the same house with him for 5 weeks, Draco could freely admit that he liked the werewolf. Lupin was kind and understanding and smart. He also had a wry sense of humor, and Draco enjoyed talking to him. Unlike his father, who had always made him listen to endless speeches and always insisted on making decisions for him, Lupin showed a surprising interest in his own ideas and views of the world. He would offer advice, but always made sure that Draco knew it was up to him whether to follow it or not. Still, he didn't feel like talking to anyone right now. He had known that his newfound friendship with Harry would come to an end once Granger and Weasley showed up and reminded Harry who his real friends were. He'd never had any illusions about that, but he hadn't thought it would hurt so much. Harry was the first real friend he ever had. The first friend Draco had chosen for himself, not because his father had insisted they become friends, and also the first friend who had ever really understood him. They had gotten very close over the past few weeks, and now Draco felt abandoned. The knock sounded yet again, louder this time, but still he ignored it. He just wanted to be alone and wallow in misery. Lupin, however, seemed unable to take a hint, because Draco heard the door opening and closing and footsteps padding closer. Only when the bed dipped suddenly did he realize that it wasn't Lupin after all. There was only one person here who had no respect for personal space. Turning over, he found Harry lying next to him. "Sorry about Ron," the dark-haired boy muttered sheepishly, and Draco snorted. "No need to apologize. I didn't expect anything less," he assured. Only Harry would come to apologize for his best friend when they both knew that Weasley's anger was justified. Still, he felt elated that Harry had actually sought him out. "I'm sorry if I got you in trouble with your friends," the blonde forced himself to say. Harry smiled. "You're my friend too," he insisted, making Draco feel warm all over. "And don't worry about Ron. He's pouting now, stubborn git, but he'll come around eventually." Draco seriously doubted that, but he said nothing. He didn't feel like starting a discussion. For a while, they just laid there in companionable silence, and he enjoyed having Harry so close. It would most likely be the last time. "Sirius said you got an owl earlier. Everything okay?" Harry asked after some time. Draco sighed. "It was from Mother." "She finally wrote to you? What did she say?" Harry's sincere interest made the blonde smile. He was so cute sometimes. Shaking off that thought quickly, he pulled a crumpled piece of parchment from under his pillow and handed it over. The younger boy looked at him in surprise, waiting for his nod before reading the short letter. "My dearest Draco, do not worry about me, I am fine. Your father apologized. He felt truly sorry for losing his temper like that, and he promised it would never happen again. I know what you expect of me, my beloved, but I cannot leave him. I simply can't. I am not as brave as you, my little dragon. Be assured that I am very proud of you, and that I'm always thinking of you, even when we are apart. I hope I will see you again soon, but for now we both have to follow the paths we have chosen for ourselves. Stay strong, my Draco. Your loving mother, Narcissa." "I'm so sorry," Harry whispered, handing back the letter. "I always knew she wouldn't leave him. She's too scared," Draco muttered. "The Order could protect her," Harry reasoned. "I know, and Andromeda's told her over and over again, but still." The blonde shrugged. "I guess it doesn't matter. It's her decision and I can't force her to see sense. She's right. We both have to follow the paths we've chosen, no matter how hard it would be." He found Harry looking at him speculatively. "At least she's proud of you." Little dragon, Draco snorted, unsurprised by Harry's bad try to lighten the mood. He had learned to read the other boy pretty well by now, and he'd known something like this was coming. Oh, shut up! Like you're one to talk. Your godfather calls you Prongslet, he pointed out. Yeah, well, I've got my dad to thank for that. He was Prongs, in reference to his animagus form, Harry explained. Your father was an animagus as well? Yeah, he was a stag. They were all animagi. The Marauders, my dad and his friends, you know? Aside from Remus, of course. They did it so they could stay with him during the full moon because werewolves don't attack animals. Draco finished for him. Yeah. They chose their nicknames after their animagus forms. Moony, Padfoot, and Prongs. And Wormtail. Pettigrew. The rat. He'd heard of that. The friend who betrayed the Potters to the Dark Lord. So, any other stupid nicknames you want to explain to me? The blonde asked in an attempt to wipe the lost look off Harry's face. It worked, and the other boy smiled again. Not tonight. I think I should head to bed before I fall asleep on you. He got up and went to the door. Night, Draco. The door closed behind him with a soft click. Draco rolled onto his back and stared at the ceiling, musing that he wouldn't have minded Harry falling asleep next to him.